Thanks, everybody. Welcome to Build. I'm your host, Ricky Camilleri. With Carol Hathaway and Alicia Flores, Julianna Margulies has two of TV's most iconic characters under her belt. Now, with AMC's new show, Dietland, and showrunner Marty Noxon at her side, Margulies may have a third. She plays Kitty Montgomery, a teenage fashion magazine editor with incredible style, a sharp tongue, and zero cares about anyone but herself. It's a very juicy role. Let's take a look.
Sorry. What was I saying?
Plus-size fashion.
Fashion Week, yes. Renee Tyler is doing a show for big gals at Clarkson Square, and I want you to cover it.
Really?
You're our hidden resource. You know what these people want.
Wow. That is exciting. How does that work? I go to the show.
Oh, no, they're showing it on Facebook Live. You'll watch it there.
Oh.
I'll send one of the regular girls, you know, just to show support.
And I'm your hidden resource.
Exactly. But you'll have your very own name in the magazine. How about that?
Welcome, the great Julianna Margulies. Let's hear it. Thanks so much for being here.
Thanks for having me.
You know, last time I talked to you, I don't think it was 2 years ago. I don't remember how long it was.
I think it was 2 years ago.
Because you said you had really just finished The Good Wife, and you said, I'm done for a while.
Right, so that was 2 years ago. And I took a year off.
How did it feel? How did a year off feel?
It felt really good. Surreal. It was important. I needed to just, my energy was depleted, and I felt like I had so much to catch up on in my own personal life, and just cleaning out my closet and being home for my kid and showing up at school meetings, that all the things I missed, and just having time to stop rushing. I was rushing for 7 years, trying to do it all, and you can't.
Are you good at not rushing?
I'm trying. So I'm a list maker for sure, and I'm a doer. But part of my year off was to try to take an hour for yourself that isn't going to the gym, or, you know, how about just reading a book? Just
the best, isn't it?
Take a minute. Yeah, and it was great to do that. Get off the computer, stop reading the news, just be. And that was really a gift.
Did you read anything good?
Oh my God. Well, I've read so many good things. I mean, one book that I read that I couldn't put down, that I actually, because I wasn't tired all the time, I would get up at 5 in the morning just to have an hour to myself before the day started with the family and getting everything going, was The Knicks by Nathan Hill.
Oh, wow.
It's an 800-page, but it's so juicy, and I'm jealous you haven't read it, because now you get to experience that.
But isn't that is like the 5 a.m. or the early morning before other people wake up time to read is such
the best.
Incredible, and it really starts your whole day in a beautiful way.
Yeah.
It's almost like meditating.
It is like
the
meditating.
The rest of the day is great.
If it's good writing.
Yeah, if you're reading something bad, it's unfortunate.
I dove in, because for 7 years, I was always learning lines at night. So I'd get into bed with my script, which my husband was always horrified. He's like, why you're bringing your work to bed? I'm like, you don't understand. This is the only way they're going to stay in my head, is if I look at them just before I fall asleep. And so the luxury of having a year off was just I love reading and sinking into these books that, of course, I tried to buy I kept trying to buy the rights, and I was always 2 months too late. Meryl Streep and J.J. Abrams bought that one. And then I read Jodi Picoult's Small Great Things, which another get up at 5 a.m. before the family. That's been bought. It's already being made into a movie. I just am always a little slow to get the rights to things. I got to stop that.
So where were you when you got the scripts for Dietland? Because I heard in an interview that you got 5 scripts at once.
Yeah, so having been on network television for, I guess, on and off for 20 years, that's so frightening. I wasn't used to anything except the pilot script, the first script of a network series you get weeks before you shoot it. But that's it, because then you have to wait and see once you shoot it, if it gets picked up. And then the poor writers are, you know, scrambling to write 22 episodes. So they have sometimes 3, 4, 5 years to write a pilot, and then they have a week to write 1 episode. Whereas with cable on AMC, there were only 10 episodes, and Marty and the writers in the writer's room had already written 5 when the job offer came to me. So I was sent 5 scripts, which was, in my world, unheard of. I mean, it was thrilling. So I could really follow the journey. And what I realized as I was reading the scripts was I wasn't just like looking for my part, which most actors do that. They're like, what part of my, well, she's only in 5 pages.
Where are my lines?
Yeah, where are my lines? I was so taken by the story and by this character that Joy Nash plays. I think she's such a talent. And that there had been nothing like this on television or in film, I don't think.
Well, there's nothing like this on television, both in terms of story and tone. And I think you're right. I mean, I don't know if there's ever been anything like this, and I don't think you've ever played.
Well, I certainly haven't. I mean, the closest I got to it was I did a guest stint on Scrubs years ago, where I would just play a crazy lawyer woman. But no, this. And I asked Marty. We had lunch after I read the 5 scripts and said I love it. And it wasn't such a huge time commitment for me because my character is not the lead character in it. But it's such a juicy character and so fun. And I said, I would love to play her, but why on earth did you think of me to play this? Because it's so far from what I've done. And she said, that's exactly why.
Yeah, but I think as much as she's far from what you've done, I think we see in someone like Alicia, someone who can be calculating if needed
Sure.
to be, and someone who can be cold if need be. And it's just sort of amplifying a lot of those things and bringing this to this character.
I mean, I think the character of Kitty Montgomery you could perceive her on paper as a real caricature because you hope not to bump into someone like her. I don't want friends like Kitty Montgomery. She's the biggest narcissist and just has no meter. There's no, she just wants to win. And she always wants to be on top. Whether it's right or wrong, she doesn't care. It's about the result.
Sounds like someone we deal with on a daily basis, multiple times a day.
I'm glad you said that. I mean, I'm happy to say it. Yeah, she's a little bit like Trump in that she has no empathy. And she's a pathological liar. She just wants to believe her own hype.
We're talking about our president. It's so weird to just be like, we can openly be like, yeah, narcissist, pathological liar.
Well, no.
I agree with you 100%.
I mean, unlike Trump, I don't think she's sick.
Right.
I mean, I think we have a mental case in the I think we're all in danger. Honestly, he's
Full
crazy.
agreement.
He's sick. And every day he's sicker, and every day they just let him keep doing it. Kitty's not sick. Kitty's really smart. And you start to understand why she became the way she became. I think it's the 3rd episode where you see her. So she's taken this magazine, Daisy Chain, for young teens. It's a fashion magazine, and brought it from 0 to 100. It's now the #1 magazine in America. And yet, at the end of the day, she has to walk into her boardroom full of white men over 60, telling her what she can and can't do. And I think there's not one woman who works in any business, it doesn't have to be the magazine business, any business, that hasn't dealt with that. And you realize how she has she's gotten to where she's gotten to by placating, humoring, smiling sweetly and saying yes sir, no sir, even though she knew she could do the job better. And that's the truth of it. And so when she finally gets there, she's just got this, she's burning, and she wants to make her mark. And I get it. So I don't think she's psychologically sick the way Trump is, but I think she definitely feels like the underdog all the time and that she has to prove herself.
She's also someone who has worked to prove herself versus someone who was born with a silver spoon and was just kind of...
She was never given anything. You'll find out if we get picked up for season 2. I mean, she has a whole backstory, apparently, I didn't know about. Marty just told me. But she's from upstate New York, from not a good family. Like, she earned every penny she made, as you say, unlike some people.
Yeah, I want to go back to one thing that you just said about going into the boardroom and all white men over 60 and having to answer that. Now, I heard that on this set you had like a female DP, you had a female AD, you had female directors, a largely female crew, which you have said was really the first time for you, right?
Yeah, it was shocking. I had never worked with a female DP or a female first AD in my, I did 156 episodes of The Good Wife. I did 30 episode, no, more than that, 6 years, whatever that is, on ER. Sopranos, I've never ever worked with a female DP or first AD, and it was interesting. I mean, I don't want this to become a man bashing thing because I love men. I
Feel free.
bore one into the world, and I married one. So and there are really great people out there that are also men and women. This whole Me Too movement has made me very conscious of saying it's actually just about people who abuse power versus the rest of us, because I can understand being a white male heterosexual in today's environment and being confused. And I don't want them to think that we're angry at all of them. We're just angry at people who abuse power and strength in terms of sexual abuse.
I think it's very nice of you to say that. I'm just gonna say, as a white heterosexual man, I don't understand being confused right now.
You and my husband
It's
alike.
very clear.
Right. So my husband says that. He's like, he goes, why would he doesn't understand that way of thinking. Like,
don't abuse power and understand your privilege. If your biggest fear is that you may have to apologize for saying something that lightly offends people, you're coming from a very privileged place, and just apologize and don't abuse other forms of power that you may have.
Yeah, I mean, no, I'm grateful to hear you say that and that I don't have to defend it. Thank you.
I think it's so nice that you're willing to give so much leeway.
Well, because I think, as we were talking about backstage, with the 24-hour news cycle, and so we have space we have to fill up all the time, and I feel like things get exaggerated. And what pisses me off the most about this at Me Too movement is that the women who really were sexually abused, raped, scared to death, those are the people we should be worrying about. I don't want to confuse issues here. Those voices have to be heard loud and clear. I personally don't mind when a guy says, "Oh, you look so nice today." I don't find that to be aggressive or abusive. So I think we need to be clear that we let the voices that need to be heard be heard.
Absolutely.
And not cloud it with silly remarks.
Yeah.
Like, one day he winked at me. Get over it. I wink at people. And also because I'm a girl who's on a set all the time, and I know what it's like to joke around with guys on a set, and I also know what it's like when it goes too far. Yeah. And most of the guys I know don't go too far because they were raised right. You know what I mean? It's just common sense. Anyway.
There's also a line of, like, there are men who go too far, but if you tell them they're going too far, they know how to pull back. It's a very small percentage still of the men who go too far and still think that it's okay to keep pushing.
Right.
Yeah.
Right. Someone I've been actually watching in all of this is Terry Crews. Mm-hmm. I think what he is talking about in the book that he wrote and the way he speaks, it's incredibly moving and it's touching, and I hope every man reads his book because he's spreading a really positive, understanding message because he was the guy who went too far.
Well, so. I wonder, going back to the idea of the boardroom and the all-female set here, I'm wondering if you had ever felt as an actress on the set that you were kind of performing in front of an all-white male boardroom at times. I think back to something like ER, and you're an actress, and you're like, oh, I have a note or I have a thought about this, and you look around the set, and it's all men.
I've been really lucky. Both ER and The Good Wife had an incredible crew. I'm always someone that, as an actor, I never understand actors who walk on a set and don't say good morning and don't treat your crew as with respect and dignity the way you would another actor, because you have to be the most vulnerable in front of them, right? You're performing really in front of them. We don't know who's going to see it in that moment except them. And so I want to be in a safe environment when I'm putting myself on the line. So I'm always stunned at actors who dismiss crews and sort of treat them as if they're their cleaning lady. So I've been really lucky, but I'll tell you this, and it's sort of the nature of the beast. So on Dietland, Shelley was one of our first ADs, and I was so used to a first assistant director really has to man the set. It's a hard job. And they've got to stay on schedule, and they've got to get it rolling, and they've got to keep the actors and then get the background, and it's a big, big job. And so I was used to, and action and rolling camera action, and then if there was noise, you'd hear the first AD, a guy, be like, "I said shut up," right? And then you're like that. of course, everyone shuts up. But then now I have to act.
Yeah.
And I'm scared to death because took me back. Whereas Shelley, on my first day, they said, and action, and then I was about to speak in a Dorito bag, or maybe it was Fritos, and it was rustling, and I went, and you know, when you're trying to think of the lines and do the whole thing, and I mean, any noise is distracting, and I thought, uh-oh, I don't want to get anyone in trouble, right? That's another problem women have. We want everyone to like us, which is so boring. I'm bored of that now, but...
I think actors have that problem too. I don't want to seem like I'm a
I'm
a
difficult.
problem.
And Shelley, who is the mother of 2 boys, so she knows how to handle herself really well. She said, "Hey, you want to finish that up? You all done there? Okay, good. Should we throw it up? Okay, great." And rolling and action, and it was like silence, no yelling. It actually made us all laugh, and it freed up the set. So for me, that is the difference, and it's a big difference. And I think it's something male first ADs can learn from. You don't have to bellow.
Yeah.
You know, be respectful that we're about to, you know, perform.
You said something, I listened to this podcast, and you had also said something about it that I thought was so true about the difference. Not that the difference between men and women, it's such a kind of corny remark, but that this idea, like you were sick one day and a male AD would sort of send a doctor to shoot you up with steroids to get you to set to keep going. And this show, they were like, no, we'll rearrange the day and you can come in when you're feeling. You had like a serious fever. You were really sick.
I think all of us
don't
got
want
it
to underplay that.
this winter. I had 100-point. I don't know. I was way up there. It was very high. It was like 1.3, and I was sick. I had a stomach flu, so I was vomiting too. It was very pretty, and I always rally. I was used to whenever I'd get sick on either ER or The Good Wife. You know, these networks have a schedule, and the schedule has to happen. And so usually the doctor would come to my house and shoot me up with steroids, B12 shots, so I could get, I mean, I was on the set once and I collapsed, and the doctor was in my trailer shooting me up with B12. It's just like, get it going. It's almost like you're, and I understand that too, in that they have to keep it going. And if I'm the lead, I can't get sick. I couldn't afford to ever get sick.
Time is money.
Time is money. Whereas I had to come in the next morning, and I emailed all the producers, who are all women, and I said, I'm so sorry. I'm going to rally. I'll be okay, but I just need to let you know I've been vomiting and I have 103 fever, and I'm in bed right now, but I'll rally. And the message back was, stay in bed. No, thank you. Don't come to set. And just get better and let us know. We'll figure it out. And I said, okay, well, by Friday I'll be fine. I think it was a Tuesday. And they went, how about you take the week, get 100% better, we'll figure it out. And they did. Not only did they sent me chicken matzo ball soup.
I think the big difference there that you had alluded to is that so often men are sort of like, get this done, charge, move through, let's be bullish about it.
There's no time to be human.
Yeah, and I think about life, I think about my life like with my wife, and she's so often like, no, well, why are we doing it that way? Well, what if we did it this way?
Right.
Well, why don't we try it? And I'm like, no, we gotta just keep going.
Yeah.
And it is such a really great distillation of how, at least on a set, it can feel the difference between men and women.
And it's, I mean, I understand that, you know, we do things differently. My dad always used to marvel at how women multitask. I mean, for my father to be on the phone and try and spread jam on bread, I'd be like, Dad, I'll call you back. Don't worry about it. And he's like, but it's not, no, now I have to find the cap. You know, and meanwhile, I had a
Honey,
baby
do you
on
know
my
where the
hip.
cap
I was
is?
flipping.
Can you find the cap for me?
You know, and I would say, Dad, Jesus, really? I've got the kid and the thing, and I'm making eggs, and I'm talking to you. And he's like, I know. I don't know how women do it. He would always marveled. And I think there is just, it's not better or worse. It's just that we are multitaskers. We just are. I mean, I married one of the smartest men truly I've ever met. But if he's talking to you, he can't actually put his socks on at the same time. Like, Keith will stop to talk, and I'll be like, can you talk and put on at the same time? You know, and he's way smarter than I could ever dream to be. But there's just this disconnect. My son is the same way. In school, you know, we're on our way to school, get dressed, honey, He's like, well, I'm just telling you something. I'm like, well, can't you pull your pants up and tell me at the same time? It's just that, but women.
That also sounds like you're sort of rushing list making though as well, coming through in the house a little bit.
I know, and actually, I'm actually reading this great book called The Conscious Parent, and which I found on Oprah's Super Soul Sundays. Any parent in the room, you've got to read this book because it's talking about how you're always projecting yourself onto your child.
Oh my God. Yeah.
And how you're always searching for your child to be their best self. When have you gotten to be your best self?
Wait, that's you
right?
projecting your idea of your best self
onto
your
them.
Yeah.
How fair is that? That's not fair. I'm not my best self yet. Why would I expect a 10-year-old to be his best self, you know? So I'm learning. I'm learning to just, well, I do what my husband does, which is he's like, close the door, tell him he has 10 minutes to get dressed, and meet him at the front door. And I'm like, but he won't. He's like, he will. You know? So there's a whole bunch of ways to parent, and it's important not to project your own stuff onto your kid. But we digress.
Let's go back to Dietland for
Yeah.
a minute. And this hilarious character that you play. We have a great clip, one more clip that I want to show of you being kind of deliciously nasty. Let's run that clip.
Mark my words, they won't stop until they believe they freed women from oppression once and for all. And that's never gonna happen. Men would rather destroy the world than let us rule it.
Well, I hadn't seen that clip. I don't think you were being nasty there at all. You were being pretty truthful and honest.
That was a truthful clip. That was a fun line to say. I get the best lines in this show.
Yeah.
Yeah, it's an embarrassment of riches because I get to say things like that, and I mean...
Well, that's what happens when you get to play the kind of, you're not necessarily the villain, but the kind of antagonist.
A bit the villain.
The villain, yeah, we'll call it.
Well, I'm the villain who actually I think you're going to end up rooting for just because she is trying to change the world, just according to Kitty. But yeah, I am the villain in it, in that Plum is the heroine. And, you know, my character has a hard time looking at Plum. Yeah. And that was hard to play because, of course, I'm crazy about Joy and I love her and I kept apologizing every day. I'd be like, I'm so sorry.
She radiates sweetness.
She's sweet and funny and very comfortable with herself. Like, she'll get angry if you try to sugarcoat fat, you know? And that's what this show is about. She'll say, she's like, I hate it when people say, oh, she's curvy. Oh, she's a plus size. I'm fat. And I'm okay with that. And she talks about it in a way that's so refreshing and good. But what's good about her character is it's not just about overweight people. It's about all of us she's waiting for her life to start when she's a size 6, right? So she's gonna get this surgery and then she'll be happy. And it's no different. I mean, people who are a size 2 are waiting to meet the perfect guy and then I'll be happy. Oh, if I could just shave off this bit of my nose, then I'll be happy. Oh, if I could just lift it. We're always waiting instead of being present and saying, why aren't I happy right now?
Yeah, and so
what
often,
am I waiting for?
It doesn't have to do just with bodies sometimes, too. It has to do with how we perceive our lives and what we perceive the future to be. And
when I get that great job, then I'll be happy. Yeah. Instead of being in the moment now. And I think something that's important and what comes through, you know, it's that idea that you're waiting for your life to happen when you become a perfect person. Well, what's a perfect person? You know, everything's in the eye of the beholder. The perfect person is what's real inside, right? Because that's who you are. It's not what you look like. And I know we live in a crazy, you know, society where it is important what we look like and this shaming and bullying. And I mean, the schmuck in the White House shames people for how they look. And I want to say, but you've got a rat on your head and you're orange. But then I think, but then I'm stooping to that level. And then I'm shaming someone who looks bizarre.
Bizarre. Bizarre.
But you know what I mean? Like, we gotta stop. We have to stop. Everyone is their own person, and there's beauty in everything. And I think we've just gone so far over with social media and with everyone being able to attack people with tweeting, which is one of the reasons why I don't tweet and I don't read anything about myself because, dear God, I'd be paralyzed. You know, I'm sure there's horrible things written about me. I don't need to know about them. I don't need to give my power to someone I've never met before and live my day as if from their thoughts of me that I'm some old hag who doesn't know how to act or whatever they would write. You know what I mean? Why would I allow that in my life? And so I think what this show is doing is saying, be your strong self. Stop waiting. You could get hit by a bus tomorrow, and what would you have been doing? You would have been waiting for however many months it would be to be that size that you want to be, or for how many operations it would be to have the perfect nose or the big ass or whatever's in the moment. You know, like, what are we waiting for? Such a waste.
It is weird every now and then to turn on the TV and see the president and have your immediate thought be, what the fuck?
I know.
Like, what is this? Who looks like that?
I think the biggest...
Not to shame him, but it's bizarre.
Oh, shame away. I mean, at a certain point, you got to fight back, you know?
It's confusing. You're like, oh, I don't even care about what he's saying. How did this happen? This is so weird looking.
I know, but, you know...
Color off on my TV?
I think he's just surrounded himself. They're all... Yeah. He's surrounded himself with a bunch of... they're all enablers, and they're all going to pay for it. I mean, you don't get away with this for long. Eventually, the ship sinks.
Well, hopefully not the whole ship. Hopefully just his little ship on our big ship sinks. And
apparently he can pardon himself, he says.
Oh, yeah. Oh.
Anyway,
I want to go back to one thing that you just said. You know, we're talking about waiting for your life to start and happiness and you know, becoming the perfect version that you imagine yourself to be. When you were at the sort of height of success with The Good Wife, right? You win an Emmy. The show, you're #1 on the call sheet for a very wonderful, one of the best shows on television on a major network. That it was sort of hard to believe that a major network was putting that show out there. It was so smart every week. Did you still find yourself having those feelings every now and then of like, if I just had this, it could be better?
Oh my God, yes.
Really?
Oh yeah, I'm not that it could be better. I mean, I was so grateful for the job. It wasn't those kind of thoughts. The thoughts were, well, if I could just have more time, then I would be happy. Or if I had cleaned my closet out last weekend instead of lying around, then I would have been more organized and I wouldn't have forgotten like I was always making a mental checklist of all the things I hadn't done. And once I did them, I'd be better. But the truth is, my closet's fine. Like, you know, you can't be on top of everything. And that was my year off, was like just this letting go of what I am constantly. My husband said something great to me, because I always feel like I'm, oh my God, I didn't call so-and-so and I didn't call because I was so busy all the time. And he looked at me one day and he goes, did they call you? And it suddenly took the ownness off me, because I always think, he's like, you always assume you have to be in charge of it all, and you're the responsible one. It's okay, they didn't call you either. And I was like, oh, right, what am I doing? I'm gonna take a nap and just read a book. It'll be fine.
I had that experience a few weeks ago where I took the morning off because I didn't have an interview till later in the day. And I read, and I went for a walk with my partner who works from home. And I was like, God, this is so great. I wish I could just do this all the time. I wish that my job was like this. And she goes, it is. You're home. You're doing it. We're walking through the park. And I was like, it was such a breath of fresh air.
But do you see what you did in that moment? Instead of just being in the moment of walking and enjoying, you were already going to, I wish. Yeah. And I think that's what we all have to, like, try and rein it in and just be in that moment. I know I sound so crunchy granola, but it has changed my life. Like, just being able to say, and now I'm walking. It's what I love. You know, we got a dog recently, and the truth is it takes me out of myself. I have to walk that dog. Yeah. And suddenly you're on the street and, oh, there's another person with a dog, and then you start talking to that person. I'm not a dog person. I have become a dog person, but in the best way, in that it's taken me out of my own brain and allowed me to just enjoy cuteness, you know, and a walk, and meet people you never normally would meet, and go to the dog run and be like, wait, you're a professor at NYU? Oh my God, what do you teach? It's just opened up my world to stop clinging on to all my to-dos in my head. Yeah. Because you got to take the dog out, otherwise they'll poop in the house. So, great.
And it's a sort of natural part of the American consumerism that we would have a good moment, be like, how do I make this moment more? How do I bottle up and make it more? Yeah.
I mean, when you live in a country that only allows 2 weeks of maternity leave, where most countries, it's 6 months.
Right now, 2 weeks?
2 weeks.
So, oh, wow.
For the mother and child to bond and for the mother to actually get used to the fact. We live in a country that does not respect mothers and babies because, of course they don't, because men are making the rules, but, and they know what we feel when we're hormonal. But I really believe that in countries where they're saying, take your time, learn to bond with that baby. Let's give that baby a chance to be a great person in this world. Instead of, and now I have to go to work. Oh my God, I'm pumping and now I can't, and why don't you, and we don't have a nanny. We're always in a rush and we're always in a panic. And we need to change that. And it starts at birth. Babies feel these things and bring them out and up.
Oh, yeah. Let's get some questions from our audience. Who's a question?
Hi.
Right here.
Hello, Juliana.
Hi.
I love you in The Good Wife, and I love you in ER.
Thank you.
I'd like to know something. Who would you like to invite with an actor in your show?
Say that again?
Which actor or actress would you like to invite on the show?
Oh, to bring on to the show?
Yes.
Oh, God, there's a gazillion of them. I couldn't count. Every single person I've ever worked with. I'll tell you this, though. I only had a couple scenes with Margot Martindale on The Good Wife, and I've never had so much fun in my life, and I would love to get her on because she is such a hoot and a holler, and I think she would be great on the show.
She's the literal definition of a pistol.
She's exactly.
Yeah. Like if
exactly.
they put a picture of her in the dictionary is next to a pistol.
Have a nice weekend.
Thank you, you too.
One more or a couple more?
Hi, this is coming from an online viewer. Haley asks, are there any types of roles that you haven't done but you want to do?
Oh my God, so many. So many roles I haven't done that I'd like to do. You know, when you do television for a long time, you stay in one role. Yeah, I mean, I would love to get back on stage. I'd love to do Medea. I'd love to do Master Class. I mean, there's a gazillion roles. I could never have enough time.
When was the last time you were on stage?
The last time I was on stage was I did a Broadway show in 2006. Wow. And I just have to wait until my kid doesn't want me around because that's a tough schedule. Yeah, every night. It's every night I wouldn't see him, and then weekends, matinees, plus night performance. I couldn't. So, you know, in high school, he won't want me around. I'll go back. By then, they won't want me on stage, so I don't know. I may have missed my gap.
I think it's time for one more.
Hi.
Hi.
I was wondering, what was the moment for you where you kind of figured out that acting was what you wanted to do?
Great question. So for me, I was in a play my freshman year at Sarah Lawrence College. It was a senior play, but I was cast as a go-go dancer. I had 4 lines. It was Balm and Gilead. And was it Balm and Gilead? Yes, I think it was. Okay. No, In the Boom Boom Room. Sorry, In the Boom Boom Room, David Rabe. And I only took theater to lighten up I had a heavy academic load, and the curtain went up, and it was like a bolt of lightning. I just felt like I was finally at home. And I knew that was it. I just knew it. And so I started taking it more seriously.
Julianna, thanks so much for being here.
Thanks
It's been
for
a pleasure
having me.
talking to you. The show
you.
premieres tonight.
Tonight.
On AMC, what
on
time?
AMC. And they're showing 2 episodes
Oh, it's
tonight.
2 episodes tonight?
On the East Coast, it's 9,
Right.
but I'm not sure what that means, West Coast and Midwest, but.
Well, we live in the technological age. You can watch it tonight or you can watch it online. It
Well,
will
that's
be
true.
there. Yeah.
AMC, 9 o'clock tonight.
Julianna Margulies, everybody, let's hear it.
Thank you.